All right, here we go. I give you
MCCentral.
So before I get into anything, I just want to go ahead and leave some timestamps for different sections of this video, but I do highly recommend watching the whole thing if you have the time for it. So going back to the very beginning of when I first got this game, the server MCCentral has always been a name that's been around, and I've always known about the server. If you go to any website that has like top server lists, more than likely you'll find that MCCentral will be on those lists, and a pretty high spot. They self-proclaim as the #1 minigame server, and a lot of websites seem to reflect that. They show a very good standing for the server. There is no doubt whatsoever that MCC has solidified itself as a legendary server name among the hundreds and thousands of servers that have come and gone throughout the years. Since Minecraft's release, the game has had a lot of ups as well as downs. Because of this, servers tend to shut down a lot of the time for a number of different reasons. Whether it's lack of player base, not financially stable, or just loss in interest by the staff and players. For example, one server that I played back in like 2015 that went by the name of Pro MC Games was the kind of server that if you were in that community, you would have never thought it could die. It felt like home to pretty much anyone that was in it. And eventually, that's exactly what happened. It shut down. MCCentral has been one of the very, very few established servers that has been able to keep itself relevant throughout the years. It's honestly managed to keep a really good following for itself. Looking at the server today, however, you can really start to see the deterioration of the greatness this server once had, as well as all the missed potential within it. In this video, I really just wanted to make a video that highlights the many issues that this server faces in present day, as well as what could be done about it and how to go about fixing those issues. So the first thing I want to talk about in this video is the issues in the minigame server of MCCentral. I'm not going to be talking about every single minigame because I feel as if a lot of it is irrelevant. There's a lot of minigames that people just don't play, like Champion Builder. I know Skyblock has a fairly big presence, but I don't really know much about that, and a lot of the people I know don't know much about that. The three things I'm going to talk about are Skywars, survival games, and arena PvP. I feel like out of all the minigames on the server, those three are probably the most talked about when it comes to issues. Compared to the game modes that I just listed, those three stand out to be the most problematic, so those are the ones I'm going to talk about in this section. So to start this off, I want to talk about Skywars. Skywars was the game mode that made me think about making this entire video, to be honest. Personally, I really don't play Skywars all that much, and I really haven't played Skywars all that much on MCCentral. It's just not a game mode that I've ever been able to get into on the server. However, I do feel fairly comfortable talking about this because of the number of complaints I've heard from people regarding some of the issues within the game mode. MCCentral's Skywars game mode is very outdated. It uses very similar plugins to those that were used many years ago on a bunch of servers. When you open a chest in Skywars, you can expect to get just a bunch of random items, and a decent portion of the time, they really don't do much for the player. You tend to get a lot of random blocks and items, and a lot of which aren't very useful, and a lot of the time, you may not even get the necessary gear that you need to fight other people. I know out of the few times that I've played this game mode, a lot of the time I would just end up getting something like full leather out of my spawn chests, and the guy next to me would get like nearly full diamond or something ridiculous. I really don't care how good you are at the game. If you have nothing but a leather chestplate and leather helmet and a stone sword, you will have next to no chance 98% of the time in a head-on fight against somebody with full diamond. I know a lot of players that consistently play Skywars would really like to see a better tiering system, as well as just a better format to the chests that you spawn with on your island. Another thing that I know a lot of people have talked about and mentioned is the addition of actual kits rather than just having perks in the game mode. It's no secret that Hypixel obviously already does this, but to say that it's copying Hypixel is just not true. Countless servers had Skywars and the kit edition before Hypixel even had the game mode itself. Plus, it's those same kits that allow people to enjoy the game mode more because it adds more to the game mode itself. It gives people options for how they would like to play the game mode, as well as opens up new strategies for the people that play. Having perks is nice, but one thing that I've seen from playing is the abuse of explosive arrows. Now I could be completely wrong, but as far as I know, only donors get explosive arrows. which in a way, it can be considered pay to win. Having pay to win game modes on servers, as far as I'm aware, actually goes against Minecraft's EULA terms, which can result in a server getting blacklisted. As well as that though, it's just not fun for players that don't have the perk. I couldn't tell you how many times as a rookie I got shot the instant the game started and just died immediately because I couldn't do anything, and I think that a lot of other players feel the same way. I can't talk about Skywars though without mentioning what it has to do with the player count. Looking at the number of people on Skywars, you will always see that it has much more people playing that game mode than any other minigame on the server. However, upon joining a game of Skywars, you will more than likely see that it takes a fairly decent amount of time to get a full lobby and for a game to even start. So I decided to do a test the other day where I went on Hypixel to one of the lesser played Skywars game modes. The one that I chose only had about 350 players or so. After joining, I could immediately see how much quicker the game mode filled up compared to Skywars on MCCentral. It was easily twice as fast, with about half the amount of players playing this Skywars than the one on MCCentral. Many people claim to know that the Skywars player count has been spoofed for years, including multiple staff members as well. Overall, not only does this make the player count higher for just Skywars, but for the server as well. If you look at MCCentral on the server list, you can see that it has about 1,400 to 1,500 to 1,600, sometimes 2,000, and about 700 to 800 of those, for the most part, are just spoofed numbers, they're not real players. And honestly, I think that's just kind of deceptive of the server owners. When it comes to SG, I can definitely say that I am much more knowledgeable than I am in Skywars. Earlier this year, I was very involved with the community, a lot more than I am now. However, a lot of the same issues that I saw back then are still very present in the game today. I could sit here and go so in depth about all the issues that this game mode faces, but the sheer amount of threads and complaints that have been made going over all these issues really just does it all. So instead, I'm just going to talk about the major points that people bring up when talking about this game mode and what can be done to improve it. The first thing that I want to discuss is the perk Double Damage. Words cannot describe how ridiculous this perk is. This clip that's playing right now is from about 6 months ago. I was fighting Abar in deathmatch and well, you can see exactly what happens. Yes, that one sword hit did 4 hearts of damage and I was full iron. One hit took off 4 hearts. And this is not the only instance of this kind of stuff happening. The amount of times that I or people that I know have died to this kind of shit when they should have 100% won is absolutely unreal. I think if you want to add a damage multiplier, the percent chance should be the same as the bow shot multiplier and only do about 1.5 times damage. So basically the same exact stats as the bow damage multiplier perk. Similar to the perks, another additional feature in the game I want to bring up is the mobs and the use of mobs. Many people, including me, feel like while the addition of mobs is a very unique part of the game mode on MCCentral, it honestly is more of an annoyance and pain to deal with than a good thing for the game. Lots of people don't even use the mobs and they rather just use them for their resources or just throw them out entirely, because they honestly hurt the user majority of the time more than the person they're trying to fight. A lot of the time what happens is that the user of the mobs will usually get caught in the crossfire between the skeletons and the blazes, and if the fight is really close, a lot of the time it ends up getting the user of the mobs killed. And honestly, to a lot of people, while it's very unique, it's just really annoying to deal with, and it's just an annoyance. The final thing that I want to touch on when it comes to survival games is the use of levels and the enchanting system that's on the server. The enchanting system is by far one of the worst issues that this game mode faces. Currently, when you play SG, the levels that you have access to are equal to whatever your network level is. If you are level 2341 on the server, then you will have 2341 levels on survival games to use, which no doubt that's unlimited levels. You will never run out of levels in a game, because they reset every single game. Since most of the SG maps have enchant tables and anvils, it gives the players the potential to have ridiculous enchants that should never even be possible in survival games. At this point, you're really just playing UHC games. Not only is the enchant system insane, but when you look at it from a new player's perspective, it's impossible. Having only one level when everyone else has hundreds or thousands makes the game so much harder for new players than it really should be. I want to say like 95% of the time when new players go to deathmatch, they'll end up having to face someone that's enchanted and anvilled, and like I've said before, I don't care how good you are at this game, majority of the time you will lose that fight. It only takes getting hit like 3 or 4 times majority of the time to kill somebody that doesn't have enchants. And before I continue, I just want to address the argument that's been made before about, oh, I've worked, all these years to get these levels. I've worked 4 years to get my 3,000 levels. I have the right to use these levels. Sure, you absolutely have the right, but survival games should not be the game mode in which you can use them. That's ridiculous. Survival games was never meant to be a game mode where you could become insanely stacked. That's what UHC's for. You spend all that time mining, you get your full diamond, you get your prot 3, you get whatever. That shouldn't even be possible in survival games. It's a much lower tier PvP. You should never have these insane enchants that two-shot people. That's just not right. Overall, the way that enchants work in SG right now are terrible. It is an awful system. There have been many suggestions on how to change the issue or fix it so that it makes a little bit more sense. And the one that I personally like the most is for every kill that you get in game, you get 1 level, and that resets every game. That way, it requires players to actually fight each other rather than just sit back and gear up the entire game, which is a lot of what this game mode is right now on the server. It's just sitting back and hiding and gearing up the entire game and avoiding conflict. I think that in general though, regardless of what gets changed and how it gets changed, something needs to be done to adjust this issue because a lot of people really are not a fan of the levels and are not a fan of the enchanting. I know that there are a lot more issues in survival games, and like I said, I'm not going to get super in depth on them. In fact, I'm just going to link a bunch of threads that have been made talking about a lot of these other issues, as well as some videos that have been made talking about them, because I feel like it's so overdone and so over talked about that me saying anything is just wasting my time at this point. So anyway, yeah, that was survival games, and now we're going to get on to the next section, which is Arena PvP, everyone's favorite game mode. Oh boy, Arena PvP. Words cannot even begin to describe how terrible this minigame is. I've been told that when this game was originally added, it was meant to be a competitive one, and because of this, they hired coders to specifically code an anti-cheat for Arena PvP so that people wouldn't cheat their way up the leaderboards. Eventually, all of the coders quit, thus leaving the game with a really buggy, really unreliable anti-cheat that often kicks legitimate players for no reason whatsoever. It just kicks them mid-fight, it will kick them in the lobby, it'll kick them when they get NCP'd, it's ridiculous. I remember like a month ago I joined Arena PvP, and in the span of like 5 or 10 seconds I got NCP'd in a block, and then I just got kicked for modified client. Only a few days before I built a completely fresh computer, the only things that I had installed were Lunar Client, Steam, and Chrome, and that was it. I hadn't installed anything yet, I didn't even have a texture pack yet, and I still got kicked for modified client apparently. I'm not the only person this has happened to. Almost everyone I know that plays MCC has played on Arena PvP, and it's happened to them before at least once. Minimum once. The amount of false kicks and stuff that anti-cheat has is really concerning, considering that it was originally supposed to be made for a competitive game mode, and it's kicking people out of their matches mid-fight. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense how that could even be happening. And something that comes along with just not having a good anti-cheat is having really fucked up KB, or knockback, and hit detection. I can't tell you how many times I go in to fight somebody, and I'll be like a block away getting crit particles, and my hits, it's not hitting them. I'm just getting particles, and it's not actually hitting them. And then I'll get like NCP'd in a block for trying to hit them. And when I do hit them, for the half of the time that I actually am able to hit somebody, the knockback is so unpredictable and unreliable that it ends up just getting me screwed over anyways. Like, I'll hit someone and they'll go sideways, or they'll go like towards me, or some really weird direction that they shouldn't be going when you hit them. It's just so fucked up. It doesn't make any sense how this was supposed to be a competitive minigame. I mean, when I tell you that I have never seen worse mechanics for a PvP based game in my life, I genuinely cannot be more serious. The hit detection is awful, the knockback is awful, and it feels like half the time you go to melee someone, your hits just don't work or they fail to register. And because of all this, when you try to do basic PvP strategies like rotting, W-tapping, S-tapping, or anything like that, it absolutely just does not work at all. It just doesn't. Basic stuff that works on any other server does not work on MCCentral. You just gotta hold W when you fight people. To be honest, if you tell anyone outside of the community that Arena PvP on MCC was originally made to be more competitive, you would probably just get looks of disbelief, as it's so far from being optimal for PvP. The rod is like a... It's so delayed. Oh my god, what the fuck?
I don't know what happened.
It's impossible to W tap because you just hit them like that. You just hit them like 20 blocks away. Ah! How did I win? How did I win?
How did you get that double hit?
What the fuck? If I see another minimod tell someone that a minigame's revamp is in the works or that it's coming soon, I'm actually just gonna off myself. It's been rumored, and I use that term very, very loosely, for years. For actual years. Obviously, adjustments have been made to things that were huge issues to where games would be unplayable. As far as updates though to the actual game modes and the way that they are played, it's been years since that has happened, or since there's been a change. For years now, people have been saying that they're working on an update, that the owners and staff are working on an update, and that they're almost done. I would love to know where they're getting that information from, because as far as I know, I haven't seen anything talking about a minigame revamp. And at this point, it's pretty obvious that it's just not going to change, or that there won't be a revamp. I could go on and on about every little thing that this server seemingly struggles with, but like I said earlier in this video, I don't feel like I need to stress minor points that have been discussed in countless threads, only the major ones that people talk about. I really don't understand why these things have been complained about for years, and the higher up staff members just choose to ignore their player base. It's genuinely mind-boggling to me how you have such a large player base and just ignore everything that they're asking for. It's unreal to me. I don't understand that. And one more quick thing that I want to talk about in this section is the bugs that this server has and that it's had for years. The issue with rubber banding or getting NCP'd on the server has been something that has always astounded me about this server. That was a big issue in many early servers when the first bunch of anti-cheats were being developed. It caused players to experience getting stuck in place or stuck in blocks, and ultimately causes a lot of issues for the player. As you can see in the clip I'm showing, you can see me in the arena PvP lobby getting NCP'd and eventually me getting kicked for it when I'm not cheating. The next thing that I want to discuss is the hunger. I don't really know why MCC is capable of running many different versions, however they still choose to use 1.8 default hunger, which if you don't know, it depletes very fast, and this causes players to have to eat after sprinting like 20 or 30 blocks most of the time, which is incredibly annoying to deal with. I know that it's been something that people have also complained about for years, and it's still one of the most annoying bugs on the server. And another thing is the usage of projectiles, including snowballs, the rod, and the bow, just completely not working. A lot of the time when I go to use these items, it tends to do the animation as if you are using them like normal, but for some reason the snowball won't throw, the rod won't cast, and the bow just won't shoot. It comes out like it just shoots or throws a blank. I know that this is caused by the lag that this server faces, which is a big reason why they need to upgrade so players can have a better playing experience, but also just because it's really annoying to deal with. You tend to find a common theme that all of these bugs are really fucking annoying to deal with. And finally, the last thing that I want to discuss in this section is the cheater issue. I refuse to go into detail about this because of how much it's been brought up on the forums, in-game, and directly to staff themselves. All I will say is that you know it's a serious issue when the staff are at the point of complaining about dying to cheaters all the time. Even if they ban the hackers, there will still always be more to cause the same issues. A new anti-cheat is what's needed. It is very, very much needed. I don't know why the server owners refuse to spend even just $50 on a new one. It would make the game so much better for all the players on the server, and not only that, but it would expand their player base substantially. Some of the stuff that I've seen done by staff is so unreal that in some instances I can't even find words for what the fuck might be going through their minds when they do it. The clip that I'm about to show you was submitted as a player report to staff and it was denied. This clip that you're watching was denied. This clip was actually fucking denied. And not even by a moderator. This was denied by a senior moderator on the server. This is not the only instance of this kind of shit happening either. There has been tons of clips where staff just deny blatant evidence of people breaking server rules. Staff on this server are so improperly trained it's astounding. Like, okay, if you're not going to want to have a solid anti-cheat, then you better get yourself a damn good staff team that knows what the fuck they're doing. Otherwise, your server is going to be a miserable experience for the players that are playing on it. I know that there are staff on the server that claim to be really good at screen sharing, which is great. However, having a player run Paladin is not screen sharing. I know many clients that completely bypass that SS tool. And as far as I know, staff on MCC really don't know much more than that when they screen share. And on top of all of this, the creators of Paladin confirmed that they made clients specifically to bypass that SS tool, meaning it should absolutely not be used anymore. All you have to do is go and get the client that bypasses that they made, and they will never get picked up or caught. It doesn't make any sense that that's what they use. Not to mention that that's what they consider screen sharing, because that's not what screen sharing is. The people that are at the top of dealing with cheaters show such an absolute lack of knowledge in that field, and on a server like this, that's really concerning. On a server with this big of a player count, that's very concerning that that's the case. You have many capable staff members on the staff team that actually show somewhat of an understanding with how to catch cheaters, yet they never get promoted. You never recognize them among the staff, and overall they kind of just get pushed to the side. Of course, everything in this video that I mentioned can't be changed, and that's due to the fact that the owners don't give a shit. I understand that the faction server is a very large part of MCC, however you have to remember that you have an entire other part of your community that exists. A decent chunk of the profit that the owners make off MCC comes from the minigames, and in my eyes, when you kind of just ignore the players that have been begging you for years to make updates and changes, it's kind of like you're just spitting in the face of the people that give you money, and more than likely, giving you the living that you have. I can't understand, and I've really tried, and I just can't understand what the hesitation is in just having a minigames update. The fact that it's been years since an update is fucking crazy to me. And it's even crazier when you have some sort of sense of like the kind of money that they're pulling in. They're pulling in a ridiculous amount of money with this server. And it's not like the staff on the server are getting paid, it's going all directly to the owners. They absolutely have the funds to make new plugins, upgrade the server, reduce lag, and overall just make stuff better. And they don't do it. They just ignore the people that play their server and that have been complaining for years, and it's genuinely so disrespectful to the player base of your server. The final point I want to bring up in this video is something that is far more serious than anything else that I've brought up so far. Before I get into what it is, I just want to say that all of this is alleged. I'm not confirming this 100%, but there has been supposed proof given, so I will summarize what other people have shown and said about the situation. A few months back, there was a situation between an adult and a minor on the server. The two players dated, or e-dated if you will, with apparent sexual contact made online between the two. A group of players banded together and made many large threads with apparent proof of these actions, and basically brought a lot of attention onto the situation. With the proof that was given, and the detail that some of these threads went into, it would be really hard to disprove the stuff that was brought up in these threads. Staff members quickly saw these threads, and to my shock, and to the shock of many others, deemed the threads as drama-inducing or drama-related. I can't even put into words how disappointed I was when I saw that message for the locked thread. I just remember talking to my friend in a VC and him saying, I would love to know what about that is drama. Is that how the admin team sees a situation like that? As fucking drama? I was disgusted knowing that the people that are in charge of making this environment enjoyable and fun, as well as safe for people, would ever think for a second that it's acceptable to dismiss something like that as drama, especially when apparent proof was given in the threads. Now, as much as I'd like to give the staff the benefit of the doubt and say, maybe they just locked it and they handled it behind the scenes, I know that's not the case, because that same player that allegedly did this stuff with a minor is still playing on a different account. Thank you so much for watching. If you're able to sit through this entire thing, then I congratulate you. If you skipped around but still watched some of it, I still really appreciate it. I spent a while trying to put this together, and I spent a while trying to reach out to different people for stuff that I could add and put in this video and mention. So it would mean a lot if you left a like on this video. Usually I don't ask for likes, but like I said, this is something I spent a fairly good chunk of time on, and I would really appreciate it if you just dropped a like or comment or something about the video. If you have anything else you'd like to add on to that I didn't mention in the video, please go ahead and do so in the comments below. Go ahead and use this as like a thread or something. I would really like to give others the chance to speak out about issues they faced on the server as well. This has been your boy Liger. Thanks for watching. I got new stuff coming soon, hopefully some more lighthearted stuff or something. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Hey, of course to live like this, you hear me? Oh no, go.